thank you, Meher. First of all, I'm really, be very thankful to you for inviting me. Thank you
It's an
so
honor.
much.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much for
much.
coming during the weekend. I know you have a very busy schedule. You're busy with calls and all. Thank you for taking out time. And I'm also like on call, like you give calls to the for a mother. I'm also a mother of two, so it's like a session for me today.
Anytime. Thank you so much. Of course, I would say to hello to everyone and whoever is watching us. I am Deepthi, and I'm a child nutrition expert. I'm a lactation counselor. I'm a postpartum care therapist, and for first-time mothers. And I live in Gurgaon with my two teens. 18 and 13, and I'm living happily with my husband and kids.
Okay.
That's not who I am, and yeah.
So how this journey started? Well, we have been connected from a very long time. I want you to tell your story to our audience that how you actually chose this career, because you already had a picky eater at your home that pushed you to choose this career, and you got deep into it and you specialized it. So over to you. Please tell this transformation journey.
Sure. So, Meher, it started in 2013, and actually at that time I made a shift by choosing to be financially free. I started at that time when I want to do something. And things transformed from there. When I made a shift in my thoughts, in my actions, and all the how it will happen, whom to meet, how it will, what I'm going to do, everything emerged in the journey, right? Everything started falling in place. Inside of that, I trained myself a lot with all the business coachings. I learned what I need to learn, and I worked constantly inside out, learned all the courses, all the certifications, and add actually my own experience with the art of feeding and with the science and art of feeding also. It was not only my experience, but I trained myself in a way where I learned the ways, what is the right approach to feed a child, a young toddler. Right, and of course I failed 1,000 times in my journey, and evolved more than that even. So I would say that was my professionally transformation, and personally I believe that I changed my energies, my thinking ways, my actions changed, my conversations changed, and my daily thought processes changed. My conversations changed towards life, towards myself, and my approach to any situation. So when I bring all these things in my life, my conversations with my child changes. So then I started taking her as a child, and and trying to understand what she is going through, and where I have to make sure that I become more vulnerable and more compassionate to her, rather than forcing or maybe becoming like I have done everything what I have to do, and why she is not responding positively to me. But I have become very vulnerable to her approaches, to her choices, and respected her choices. I changed all that conversations definitely in my daily life, daily action. So that has bring the deep transformation in personally also and professionally also. So that was the transformation. And of course, as you know, that right from when I started providing meals to children, and I started with the school here in Gurgaon. So all that, and right now in between I have done huge lot of certifications. Now I am a lactation counselor also. I've done my postpartum things, so I feel so happy that because I have always standed tall for mothers. I feel that they really need so much help, and I feel a calling to help them. I feel that definitely it's needed more than food. My courses, my programs, my movement, my message is more than providing a good food. It's about more about the nourishment, more about the nurturing, more about the feeling empowered. That is what I feel.
Exactly. Beautiful, beautiful. So it has been a good journey like that. You have came into this, right? And before that, you were into this profession, or you were doing some other job?
No, before that I was a homestay mom and totally taking care of my child, and traveled a lot because my husband was in a profession where I have traveled a lot of cities. So I was that's what I'm saying. Like in 2013, I made a choice to be financially free and start something of my own. And inside of that, I added my own experience with the strategy, with the conviction, of course, and with a lot of business coachings, so that I come up with a profession and started helping other mothers also.
Great.
Those who
means actually you self-motivated. Yes, you are self-learner. You pushed yourself to learn something, but though you are like at home, but you learn so many things, and now you are you are a professional. So as your program is about a picky eater, so getting on to that, what are these picky eaters? Well, I do have 2 kids, I can understand that, but for all the mothers who will be a mother, and how you define a picky eater, how to deal with them?
Okay, so I would say that yes, I have raised a picky eater, and I would say that, let's not name it. I would say that she's a selective eater. I always tell my mothers also that, don't name it. It's just a kind of, they have been selective for few things, right? So being picky eater, being a fussy eater is more like naming them. So it's better to choose that the children are selective. And of course it was a little tough journey for me, because I was a little alone at that time, and my child was like, I would say 8 to 9 months, and I was alone in a way where my husband was traveling at that time, a lot of time, and being a new parent, I was failing to kind of, to nourish her in her formative years. And so what changes I did is that, I shifted my anxiety to feed her. I dropped that, and secondly, when I shifted my good mother instinct and respected her choices, that has also helped a lot to me. And, and when I try to bring when I try to bring love with limits, there is a moderation, there is a discipline, there is a rule. I was not kind of being, when I stopped being carried away with my child's demands, that has given me a lot of confidence that yes, I can do it. And we aligned each other at some point, actually. And so it is nothing like, raising picky eater is a tough thing, but if you deal with a lot of conviction and right approach, it works.
Okay, so means it depends on the situation. We have to understand the child. So it's a unique situation. You cannot tell a formula that do like this, right? It's situational, right? So if
but yes, there are the strategies, there are the approaches which I would say like every mother should know, that this is the way to deal with the child at that, if this is the phase. If they are struggling with the child, then these are the ways, these are the approaches, and this is the way. Because what I feel is that there is feeding is an art, and when you match it with the science, then it becomes more respectful, more easy, where the child accepts it more happily, and you become more hassle-free, guilt-free, and stress-free at that time. That is also very important when you are just around a picky eater. These things matters a lot.
Exactly. So, like these picky eaters, many mothers come up with this question that they are not ready to eat fruits and vegetables. and they are very picky about that. But we have to feed them also, being a mother, right? We feel incomplete that, and we come to know that elders are keep saying that your child is not eating any fruit, any vegetable. What kind of mother you are? I can relate to it because I've been through these stages. So how to convince them to eat some fruits and vegetable?
Okay, so there I think there's no need to be convincing. There's no need to be convincing to others, first of all, because then the results would be towards the finishing the task. Our job is to see a child coming to the table, asking for more, asking for the second servings. That is what our intention is. There's no need to be convincing to anyone in the family, outside, and all that. It's nothing to do with them. It's always you, a mother, who needs just a structure, a plan, a strategy, and a nutrition all at the same time, where you are using all the significance of veggies and fruits at the same time. When you are planning in a way, in a whole day, that all these things are balanced, you're using it in all balance, then it becomes it's automatic. Then without a plan or a structure, you will fall down into that state of mind where you will easily listen and absorb and get influenced by, okay, yes, they are saying theek hi bol rahe hai sab kuch, because you don't have anything, then what to do? So you have to learn that part so that everything falls in place. When you have a structure, what to give and how to give and when to give, then these influence, you'll not shake it with these. So there's no need of convincing. Just use a plan in a way where fruits, vegetables are already included in a daily meals. And when I'm saying use a plan, that means that you have to make sure that you have a predictive plan, what you are going to serve next, what you are going to serve tomorrow, what you are going to serve at 5 o'clock, and what you are going to serve at 8 o'clock. You must know that. Don't get shaky in that. The more you get confident in it, nobody will ask you. So that is proven, and
as you said, that's what I have to serve. But the scheduling thing, that we have to schedule everything. But when it comes to feeding your child as per schedule, we fails, right? Like we feel that, okay, she has eaten around 2, she must be full. So we take a very long gap, then we feed. So this way we complicate ourselves, like we complicate our own cycle. So what you would like to tell mothers that when scheduling comes, like the time the child get up, right, till that how we can make a perfect schedule?
So it varies, of course. First of all, doesn't make sense that if my child gets up at 8, so your child will also get up at 8, and he should get up at 8. Sort of like your culture, your house is different from mine. So if I say there should be a scheduling, rather than I love to give a plan where I am feeding with a plan. I have a plan which is very predictive to my child. It's not a surprise to them. Never it works. It should be very predictive to a child that what will be their next meal. So they are like they are assured that, okay, next meal, this will be now my next meal, right? And the strategy is that whenever the question what you have asked is that let's say you have presented anything, you have offered anything to your child, and you failed, like the child is not accepting, right? So your schedule fails at that time, right? So what you have to do is, that time is generally what I have seen is that the mothers go back to their kitchens and they are short order cooks, and okay, if this is not working, let me try that. Okay, this is not working, let me try that. In this way, they are all time in the kitchens and keep on satisfying the child's demands. That might be a short-term way to satisfy yourself or to satisfy your child, but you will be never out of it. So the best part is here is that you have to give the two choices to the child. You have to love with limits. You can't be a shorter to cook. Otherwise, you will never be out of the kitchen. This is my guarantee. And that is not the intention. You have your own dreams. You have to pursue that. You cannot be in the kitchen, right? So what mindful you have to use, strategy you have to use here is that you have to choose two things that is nutritionally healthy, and you have to offer them that choose this or this, right? In either way, you are the winner, right? And then when the child is like, that is becoming the pattern in your home, then they get used to that. They get that, okay, mama is offering me this or this, and I have to choose in that, right? Of course, I would say that this doesn't happen easily in every home. There are the extremely picky eaters also, and there are the different ways to deal with them also. Sometimes food is not the problem, the behavior is more challenging over food, right? So when we see the 360 degree, that what is the source, in that case that we work on the source rather than खाना नहीं खा रहा है, हम उसी पे ही इतना पैनिक हो जाते हैं कि but the source is like different. Maybe the gut health is not working well, maybe the digestion is sluggish, maybe anything could be. But when the behavior is becoming challenging over food, then there's the time to pause and think about that. What is that which is not working? It is not always food. Food is a byproduct. Food definitely get affected with any kind of challenge, but it's not the core. It's not the first thing. There are a lot of other things also which matters if the child is not accepting. And your job as a parent is only to offer healthy. Your child's job is to choose how much he is eating. Just stick to your job and let them stick to their job. There is where the peace lies.
Okay, when we come on this topic that you should experiment with food, like creativity in food also, right? Do different combinations, like again, so you are into this program. So how you define these creative food for kids? Like we adults, we do a lot of creativity because our palate is, we can eat anything, but they cannot. They have some limitation, like this much of sweet, this much of salt, and they can't eat spices, of course. So how to be creative in that case for these younger kids?
Okay, so in my courses, and with my mothers, I think there should be another way. They should to put up this. Let's put up. There's nothing. It's not about being creative with food, rather than, let's say, that being creative with mind. That's what I reinforce in my courses. I talk about nourishing mindsets rather than nourishing meals. You can get all those meals from Google or anywhere, but you have to work on your mindsets first, and the meals would get fall in place. So coming back to creative meals, what you have asked is that the only way, what I teach to my mothers is that there's the only way to be creative is to enhance the quality of the meals, right? So what I mean with that is that, for example, always choose homemade over outside food for younger ones, right? Let it be of course, the baby age or the toddler age. It's the best strategy that you're choosing the homemade food in any case, unless and until you're just stuck anywhere, right? Bring limits to your offerings. Of course, you just can't go beyond. You have to be, love them with limits. I always say that there should be like discipline, there should be a rule, because every home must have this kind of a thing. Otherwise, they will rule you, right? So it is important. It is important to love with limits and bring variety in your meals. Bring nutrition in your meals at every morsel. Let it be one meal in a day. I'm not saying that offer and बहुत सारा बार खिलाओ या कम से कम 8 बार खिलाओ या 10 बार खिलाओ. I'm saying that let it be one meal, but make it so enhanced that the daily nutritional value is fulfilled. that is the creativity, rather than shaping and using the cookie cutters and just being always in the kitchen and yeah, satisfying the demands. That's not creativity. You don't need to. We don't need. They are young adults. If we don't need a star paranthi, they also don't need a star paranthi. So it's something like you make your portions, you make your offerings very enhanced, very quality, nutrition rich, and there's no need of shaping. Yeah, of course. It could work with just if you out of love you're making anything, and together you're doing anything, that is completely fine, of course. But that do not make it a pattern.
Exactly. Because they develop this habit. Yes.
जब तक वो अगर मेरे को वो ऐसी वाली रोटी नहीं मिलेगी या ऐसी वाली तो
I will not.
बाहर नहीं निकलेगी तो and I don't want that really. I really don't like that. So that is what I feel that is the creativity.
Exactly.
Use creatively. Your each and every bite should be so nutritionally rich, so enhanced with nutrition rich food, rather than being busy in the kitchen all the day.
Exactly. So now these I've seen that mothers coming up with this allergen with food. So this besides keep on changing. Actually, it keeps us confused. Like this is allergic. You don't eat this. This have some protein level, so it is getting to the digestion. Means they're making little bit complicated for mothers like us. We don't have that much of knowledge regarding that. Which component, which it's bit in depth, right? We can't understand. So these like don't give cow milk, give soya milk. So these things, would you like to tell mothers that how to deal with it? Means, or we should introduce everything, or yes, we should take some benchmark that what I should introduce or what should I not.
Yeah, so I feel that this is a very important question, and it's very important to know for the new parents, and rather for every parent, right? Well, I would suggest here is that having an allergen test before before starting any new food is a good strategy to move further with the next step. When I'm saying having an allergen test, I'm not saying as having a adult allergen test. What I mean here is that just when you're starting a new food which is already an allergen, like eggs or fish or peanuts, these are highly allergic foods. So start with a small portion to check that if it is coming up with any kind of symptoms with the child. And it happens generally with younger age, like 6 months, when you have a young baby, when you're starting a new food to them, it happens, the case appears more often in that age. So it is important to know, for all the parents of course, to have when you're introducing any allergen, have a small test before it. And secondly, don't be doubtful, don't be so confused, like what if anything happened to X mom, doesn't has to happen with Y mom also.
Exactly.
It's not at all a rule, So while research says that to introduce a small portion at very young age actually helps the child, that they might not develop the same allergy in the later years. So exactly. do introduce at a very young age, to see to make them familiar with that kind of a thing. Of course, you have to check with a small portion at an early age and see and check out if any signs or symptoms are coming up of rash or swelling, and of course begin the joyful journey if there is nothing like that. And if there is anything like that, do stop, take a pause, check with your experts, check with your doctors, but be confident.
Well,
ये अब मैं नहीं खिलाऊं, sort of.
Talking about the allergen test, I have two kids, I never did. What is this allergen test? How they do?
So allergen test is a very simple thing that you have to introduce a very small portion. You know, if it is allergic, if the child is allergic, it happens. If the child is allergic, that you will see the reactions and any symptoms are coming up. If so, there's no need of giving a whole lot of portion, and then the child reacts or responds to that, in some or the other way, and then you get panic. Rather than introduce a very small portion. When I'm saying small portion, could be half a spoon, and check that if anything is happening or if the child is showing up with any of the symptoms.
Okay.
Do not just let me say, like if you are introducing peanut butter, so do not give a bread slice with peanut butter without and you're using it for the first time. Do not give just to give it, when you're introducing and you know that it is an allergen food, try to give a small portion, check out, and then you start. Yeah, so that is the allergen test.
Okay. I thought it is something clinical test you are talking about. It is something we have to understand, right?
Yeah, so it's not an adult allergen test. No, it's not related to that. But of course, a lot of other things also is associated with allergies. Like if it is genetic, it might happen to a child also. But take care. Be mindful that for your steps. And also do not stop thus ki dusre ko, anyone had it, so I might also have it, so better not to give.
Exactly.
You are just losing the opportunity to give the nutrients to your
child.
This
is a very hot topic among mothers these days. They are talking a lot about allergies because they are living in these metros and all due to pollution. Kids are they are facing a lot of issues. So they feel that because they're eating, they are getting these things. So it's a very hot topic among these mothers regarding the allergy. Yeah, it happens. So there's also one question that moms, they are not able to understand how much calcium and protein should be given to a child. We give milk to them. We feel that, okay, giving milk is, I have given a good source of calcium. When it comes to protein, we try to give dal and all. So it's very confusing that in a day, do we have to give calcium and protein? Then how much to give? We can't be so calculative, right? So over to you. What do you want to say about that?
So I would say, Meher, it is very important. These are extremely significant nutrients which every mother should take care of. Do add them in your daily diets, and I really want whoever is with us and whoever will watch us after this, please have it a pause here, listen it again. When I'm saying add calcium and protein, I'm not saying add milk. I'm not saying add dals. Calcium सिर्फ milk में ही नहीं होता है. If your child is not having milk, do not get stuck. Period. If your child is not having protein, dals, do not get stuck. Do not get stuck with what is not working with your child. Be creative. Find out the structure, find out the strategy, be mindful that how I can add the calcium. Do not get stuck, and keep on repeating that, but my child is not having milk, because accept that okay, my child is not having milk. Let me find out other way where I can add more calcium rather than any other variety of milk. Do not, keep on trying, okay, Parag and Nestle and all that. No, that's not a good strategy. The beautiful one, the creative one is that do add calcium in any other way. Find out, calcium बहुत सारी और चीजों में होता है, रागी में होता है, apricots में होता है, nuts में होता है. Find out that where you are giving a right proportion, age appropriate in a day, rather than just keep on stucking and like milk नहीं लेता, so मेरे बच्चे को कैल्शियम नहीं जा रहा है. Agreed कि मिल्क नहीं ले रहा है तो कैल्शियम नहीं जा रहा है, दैट इज नॉट, आई विल नॉट एक्सेप्ट इट, बट ऑफ कोर्स आई विल एक्सेप्ट इट कि कैल्शियम जरूरी है. सो कैल्शियम और भी तरीकों से दिया जा सकता है. Find out that.
So actually this is the mindset. We all think that milk is calcium and we have been saying this from ages. So it's like that milk dena hai, right? We have to feed them 3 times. If they switch to 2, they get worried. Now he stopped drinking for milk for the 3rd time. Then when it gets to 1, then we are like that nothing is going. It's like a
so
basic psychology.
Yeah. So I truly love to work with them when they are with me, and I deeply work with the mindsets rather than meals. वो मुझसे सब पूछते हैं कि आप मील्स दे दो, आप डाइट चार्ट दे दो. मैंने कहा डाइट चार्ट आपको गूगल से भी मिल जाएगा, मगर माइंडसेट्स आप मेरे संग ही बदल सकते हो. Right, so I just love to work on the mindsets because I have done that, I have experienced that, I've been there. I know that what has worked with me, and I really want that if I have learned with the rolling tears, doesn't have to be so hard for you, right? So I'm so much ready to kind of help them.
Exactly. Talking about the mindset, that these kids also have this mindset of eating food, same food they want to eat daily, because they develop that taste that they want to know, I want this only, otherwise I will not eat. It becomes very challenging for mothers. What is on say for them?
So it's a very common challenge, very common. Like many children get stuck with this kind of a challenge, and what we call technically it's called food jag. Food jag means that when a child is absolutely comfortable in his 4-5 items, and the child doesn't want to kind of introduce that the mother should introduce any new other item. They're so happy with kind of eating the same food. Now 2-3 things are associated with it. I would say that the child might have the mindset because he might have any negative experience related to meal times, right? So he's fine, like, okay, if I'm swallowing, I'm chewing simple dal chawal, मुझे दूसरी चीज नहीं खानी, let it be exotic, let it be good, whatever. But पहले ऐसा कुछ हुआ था, so मुझे डर लगता है, and they might have this negative experience around it. They might have, they're just good enough to have, they're just fulfilled. हम खुद भी अपनी जो हमारी कुछ एक अच्छी जो है सूदिंग कंफर्टिंग हमारी हैबिट होती है, हम उसमें अटक जाते हैं. वी डोंट वांट, हम बस सब ठीक चल रहा है, सो व्हाट इज द नीड. सो दैट्स व्हाट इट हैपेंस विद चिल्ड्रन आल्सो, एंड दे गेट स्टक एंड वी कॉल इट फूड जैग, वेयर they don't want anything new, and the mother struggles there, and the child even struggles there, because that is where it's not a good idea to to stay in that phase for a long time, because what is happening is that the child is losing the opportunity to have nutrition. अगर आप वैरायटी नहीं बढ़ाओगे तो पूरा न्यूट्रिशन नहीं मिलेगा, right?
Exactly.
So it is important to come out of this phase, of course, and encourage your child to break the plateau at that. That is like the adults.
Mothers carrying tiffins wherever they are going, carrying that tiffin, because if it is a birthday party, marriages, feeding, sitting and feeding with that same tiffin.
Right. It happens. Of course, but what is, of course, I would say that again, as a parent, as an expert, your job is to offer healthy, and let them choose that whatever the portion, how much they are eating, it's not in your control. If you are trying to control, then the force will come in. That is at all not a good strategy. That is at all not, you will worse the situation in that case. फिर तो आप और भी चीज खराब हो जाएगी. So it's better, add on the new foods, of course, because it is for a growing child. Variety is so much important, but of course, what you can do is that keep offering the healthy choices and loving with limits. You have to incorporate the rules and the disciplines at home so that you are and child both are experiencing freedom, because they also don't want to be at a meal time for 2 hours. Please understand that आप ही नहीं थक रहे हैं, वो भी थक रहे हैं.
Exactly.
वो भी बाहर निकलना चाहते हैं उस 2 घंटे के meal time से बाहर. So it's for both. It is the freedom for both. So,
and one more thing, I've seen that these kids, they satisfy themselves with these juices, drinks, and they don't want to drink water because they are full with the liquid thing. And for them, water is like, I've seen mothers bribing their kids that please drink water, I will give you this. I've seen mothers doing that. Like, please drink 4 glasses of water whole day, I will give you this. So it's so much. So what comes into their mind that they stop doing that?
Well, it is alarming for sure if the child is not having water. It is an important thing. Of course, I would say at a certain age, water is important for the baby, and when the baby is breastfeeding and all that, I would not recommend that. But at a certain age, water is important for a young toddler, right? Here, I would say that for a parent, don't be a role model. If you are eating anything, or if you are having first thing, if you are having any smoothie or any cold drink or any shake and all that stuff, don't expect that they will have any soups or homemade buttermilks. They will also have whatever you are having, and even more than that, right? So don't be a role model. That number one, and number two is that be moderate. When now the habit is already there, and accept that. Don't get panic. Accept it, that habit is there. Now the second thing what you have to do is that be moderate and allow with limits. Allow with limits and find out the ways that how you can add water in that. One of the way to add water, what I feel is that to add electrolytes in their daily meals. They love it. And young children, and it's again a very very healthy drink for children, for adults, anyone. There's nothing like age specific, but that is the way you can do it. And if it is a hard habit, then for sure counter it at priority, because it might affect the gut health also.
Exactly.
If you not introduce water, the digestion will become sluggish, and it might lead to other challenges.
So here also it is our responsibility. We are setting that example. We are drinking smoothies, so they will definitely ask, right? And they fill up with that and they stop taking water. So it is our responsibility also, being a parent. We have to set good example in front of them rather just getting out of them, right? We have to be a role model. Yeah. So what I've seen that many kids in the morning, they say that they don't want to eat any breakfast. They are full. Well, I've seen with my kids actually, like while going to school, they say that I don't want to eat anything. I'm full. So, but some kids they have that breakfast. So what happens actually? Why they say that they will not eat anything in the morning? They don't want to have any breakfast.
So yeah, it is also a common thing. I have heard a lot of mothers experiencing this. So what I feel that in this case, you have to work very specifically with the gut health. It might be that is actually interconnected with the last meal also, what they had in the last night. That is also an element which you cannot ignore, that if they had eaten late, and if that is a very fibrous diet, it might get affected in the mornings, right? And or maybe the child has a sluggish digestion, which is not allowing the child to eat more, right? She's already or he's already feeling full. And believe it that it is not related to your delicious food which he is ignoring. It is not that. Maybe it is more deeper. If you are feeling, it varies. If it is a 1 day or a 2 day thing, it's acceptable. But if it is becoming a pattern, counter it. take a pause, check with your doctors, and it's not at all it's that you're not making anything good, or it's you have to be a chef for the whole day. Nothing like that. Whatever, maybe they are going through anything which they also cannot express, that what is happening. If I'm not feeling hungry in the mornings, 2 to 3 things might affect. Maybe they are already so full from the last meal, and and maybe their digestion is not so favorable, not so effective, and it's not working in their favor, maybe, so and they don't have words to express that. They just say, I'm not hungry. So that is what I just...
So enough talking about kids. We have given a lot of importance these kids. Right now, talking about mothers. So talking about mothers, like after pregnancy and all, after the delivery of the kids, they go through this phase of depression, and it's very common. So why it happens? I know that it is all hormonal. There's a drastic change. The graph changes, right, drastically. So what, because you are into this dealing with mothers' depression and nourishing the motherhood, so how you will define that, how we should nourish a motherhood?
Well, man, I always, wherever I see, it is always written, or maybe people say about postpartum depression. I don't know why it is so much associated with pain. Exactly. I am like, I really... I don't have any answers for that. Why the postpartum is associated with so much pain. I'm on a mission to really, to bring joyous postpartum and nourishing the mother, bring in the, the wonderful, the nourishing breastfeeding processes. It becomes painful when she is not empowered with her conviction and with her, when she doesn't know that what to do.
Exactly.
That becomes painful. When she understands that what I have to do and what is needed for my child, then a plan is made actually before the baby comes, right? That brings the ecosystem together. That brings the co-parenting together, and that brings the confidence to raise a happy child. If it is done just, सबके बेबी होते हैं, हमारे भी हुए, and like हम 40 days के लिए I'm in a box, and like, let the people come in, let whatever they have to say, I'm in pain. There is no power at that time. What I feel is it's all in mother's hand. It's all the mother who is what I always say to a parent who comes, the mother, father, like when, you decide a lot of things for a child. The baby will come in, all the pre-planning happens, the clothes, the shoes, and the, the cradle, the room, and the wonderful luxurious hospitals, everything. But why not, the raising should be so happily, so joyous and so nourishing, right? From the day one. I mean, why that super wonderful woman has to go through that pain, who is bringing the little creature in the hands. I feel that ways. That's how I nourish the mother from day one, that okay, I'm there. See, if the things are really challenging from medical perspective, I agree it becomes painful. But the thing is that if she has gone through in such a huge thing, that she has given a birth to a child, that she can go through anything, but she just needs a lot of encouragement, a lot of nourishment, not only from the doctors or a medical team, but with the family also. There is where she becomes empowered. That is where she feels like, yes, I can raise, and there is where the overwhelmment, the depression, the blues sheds away.
Exactly. And what I'm saying that in India, we have lots of myths and lots of rituals also, that these mothers, they are forced to follow those things, and that pain becomes more a tough journey. Like every house, its own ritual when she become a mother. Do like this, cover your head, don't go. Don't walk like this. There are lots of things. Well, we're not talking about it because there are huge range of such myths, and every state has its own classic myths, right? Well, one day I was looking one Turkish series, how they deal with the mother. It was fabulous that how they nourish those ladies when they give birth. I guess these things also contribute, giving them like a panic attack because they're not ready for that. We're following all those myths, rituals, and all.
Of course. I feel that, I always say to my mother, be empowered, be wise, stay strong. I mean, when you are strong, nobody will come up with anything, because the child is yours. And you have to create that ecosystem around you. I'm not saying at all that, be overt to your family, say no to everyone. But it is something like be wise and be courageous to accept what is good and what is not good. Create with your mother, with your mother-in-law, with your husband.
Exactly. Feeding them a garlic sabzi. Eat garlic sabzi, it will sterilize you. Means like out of the box, thinking out of the box.
Yeah. So there are some conventional myths, norms, of course, but if we accept it, then we'll feel like burden कि मुझे बोला जा रहा है मेरे को मैं अपना कुछ नहीं कर पा रही हूँ and all that. But I'm not saying to raise voice, I'm saying create an ecosystem. Be together with your family. Hold your hands together with everyone and raise the child, because it takes a village to raise the child. The child needs the grandmother, the father, the mother, everyone.
Exactly. It becomes very important. We have to build an ecosystem where everybody is helping. It means putting a mother in focus and giving a lot of pressure. Like she herself struggling with a new situation, right? And giving them more challenges to do this. This is the time you should do. This is the way you should do. It's complicating things. That's why I guess this is also few reasons they get depressed. And yes, now talking about the family. Well, these days we have a nuclear family, as you know, right? Everybody is working from home. We don't have a good family time. Kids are sitting and eating food in front of TV. As a parent, we also, whenever our meeting finish off, we rush and we eat food there and there, and we don't see that family time sitting together and eating food. So you are into this program. So how do you educate these families to rebuild this atmosphere at home?
Okay, yeah. So I always, tell them that family style meals is one of the methodology I always try to reinforce in every family which I encounter with. Is the method which is the family style meals, I would say, is the method that where the food is, how it works. Let me tell you that, where the child is eating with the family, no matter whatever the age. It is very universal thing. The family style meals means where the child is eating with the family. But how it works, sorry, the family style meals means that where on a dining table, when the food is centered in the table, right, and it is being passed on to each and every member. If each and every member is serving according to their portions, whatever they want, and then even the child is being assisted by a mother or a parent, according to the age, if the child needs assistance, of course. So she or he is also taking a small portion from that big bowl and putting up in her plate, and then passing on to a mother or a grandmother or a sister or brother, anyone, right? Those who are eating together. So that is how the family style meal works, wherein the child understands the textures, the smells, the the aromas, the new varieties, what the mother has made. It is nothing to do with like I have also heard like अगर हम इसको साथ में बिठाते हैं then ये mess up करना शुरू कर देता है या that we don't like. Even then we also cannot have it. So it's not mess up, it's exploring.
Exactly.
When you change your conversations, you'll be feeling happier with your child. When you change your mindsets and when you become more nourishing, then your conversations will change. You will not use the word mess, you use the words, okay, my child is learning. Let's say 1 year old, he hasn't seen any or a 8 months old, she hasn't explored any food other than breast milk. आज उसे पहली बार कुछ दिख रहा है, so of course she will explore, she will take in the mouth, she'll pick she little bit of being thrown, she's just exploring. So give that opportunity to the child, and that is what the family style meals is. Eventually there is where the child will learn, okay, this is what the mama is eating, or this is what the bhaiya is eating, or didi is eating, or papa is eating. So they like to imitate, they like to like so give that culture from very early age. It's all parents' job, not the child's job.
Exactly. We have to support in a better way, otherwise they will not understand. So Deepti, talking about your this program, so what this program is all about, your Nourishing Bites and your meal plans, would you like to tell what this program is all about and how they help others?
Okay, so Nourishing Bites meal plans are plans for babies and toddlers, and it's a monthly subscription, and these meals are an opportunity to enhance every day. You can add through these meals a lot of huge varieties which are kids approved, and without giving you any overwhelmment, any guilt and stress. I've been working since 9 years with this age now, so I know that what works well. I don't get stressed when I'm saying meal plans and all that. I don't give poha, and since 9 years I haven't served poha.
Exactly, poha is the best food by every nutritionist. If you're losing weight also, one will be poha.
It is all kids approved. It is, they love it, and my always mantra is to add the nutrition, to add the variety, and to add the fun. Why we have to deprive the child with that they cannot have the anything sweet or anything what they like? Why not? I mean, can anyone deprive me of having food of my choice? I will not allow. I mean, I just really want to have whatever I want to have. The same way, I allow my children, those who I work with, to have each and everything, right? But I am using love with limits. That is what the Nourishing Bites meal plan is. That without giving a chance to a mother, being overwhelmed and stress-free and guilt-free, that mother is empowered through the guidance here which is given to her, and she can add a huge variety also.
Okay. So this program goes up to which age? Means
it is for babies right from 6 months, when a mother is just ready to start the weaning process, and to the toddlers till 2 to 3 years.
Okay. Yeah. And on your online course, how it is different from the online course? Like your online course is to raise happy eaters. It is different from that meal plan?
Yeah, it is different because, in this meal plans, the mother doesn't have to do any deep engagements. The plans will go to them, they will make it, because the recipes will also go there along with it, and they will start offering the child. But in the Raise Happy Eaters program, and we have like all the Raise a Baby Foodie program, the Raise a Happy Eater is for toddlers, and Raise a Baby Foodie is for 6 months to 12 months, right? So in these two programs, these are 6 weeks online programs, and here a deeper engagement is required from a mother, right? Where we work together, and for those mothers who have selective eaters, who have picky eaters, or for those children, those who don't eat enough. Okay, it doesn't have to be, I have seen a lot of kids कि खाते तो हैं but पूरा portion नहीं खाते हैं. So
Exactly.
this programs works definitely very well for them even. And after 6 weeks engagement, a mother would be so confident about to introduce the huge varieties. They are so happily loving to cook also. Otherwise there is a lot of aversion कि okay मेरे को खाना ही नहीं बनाना आता है. So it's a commitment that you will love to cook, right? And of course with a nourishing mindset, without guilt and without stress. That is more important, I feel, and she would also be able to align her family. In this program she will learn those strategies and the tools where she can be able to align her family also in raising a happy child. Because I have seen mother is struggling, mother has a desire to raise a happy child, but the father is not kind of supporting her, so there she fails, right? So we work together to create a co-parenting system, a food parenting system where we work together to nurture and nourish together jointly.
Awesome.
A mother is alone, they need help of a family. No matter she has a conviction कि मेरे को बहुत अच्छा baby को अपने raise करना है and all that, but she needs an army,
Exactly. To fight against. Deepti, I really like your blogs because your blogs are very informative, and yeah, I guess you are a former writer also in few magazines. Would you like to tell where you are? I guess baby mothers and baby magazine, right?
I've been featured with them once.
Okay, great.
So but I have also given my recipes to a few of the health companies. So there is where also I give my recipes to a few of the companies they are using there. And rest I have an ebook also on my website named Mama Meat. So there is also you can have a look there also.
Yes, I see you have a very great, very informative website, and your blogs are very good, and it's a good read for all the mothers. And Deepti, what message would you like to give to all the mothers out there, from as a mother to mother and as a mompreneur also, because many mothers like you are there, they want to do something different. Like you are a mother and you thought of being financially free, and you started and you learned this nutrition. Otherwise you were at home, right? So you motivated yourself, you're self-learner, and now you are doing amazing job. So you have gone through that journey. So many mothers are going through that journey. They're sailing on the same boat, but many succeed, many they are not able to because they don't get support. So what message would you like to give to such mothers?
I would really love to tell them that, with deep respect and love and gratitude, with a lot of conviction in your heart, keep taking tiny actions every day. Don't give up at all. I believe in you all already. If I can do, so can you.
Oh, so beautifully put. Thank you, Deepti, for giving your precious time. It was really informative, and those who will be going through this interview, the latest, it will be a great information. You have shared a lot of valid points, and wishing you all the best, and wishing you are spreading love and happiness among so many families. You're doing a great job because people need people like you to help them to go through these stages, because these are very critical stage in their life. Because I have been a mother and I have gone through. I really admire your journey. Thank you so much, Deepti.
Thank you so much.
Okay, bye-bye. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you, dear. So
thank you for the audience. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.